Ethan is 31 years old. He earns $78,000 a year. Nothing extraordinary. Solid, respectable, middle-of-the-pack income in a country where the cost of living never seems to slow down. For 6 straight years, he has lived with quiet discipline that almost no one noticed. He brought lunch from home when co-workers ordered takeout. He delayed upgrading his car. He shared apartments longer than he wanted to. He skipped spontaneous weekend trips. He said not this time more often than he said yes. Not dramatically. Not loudly. Just consistently. 3 weeks ago, sitting alone in his car in the parking lot of a drugstore after work, he opened his banking app. He wasn't expecting anything different. He had checked it hundreds of times before. But this time the number looked different. $100,247. He blinked. Refreshed the screen. Looked again. For 11 minutes he sat there, unmoving. No music. No phone call. No celebration. Just silence. He had done it. And instead of euphoria, he felt something far heavier. Responsibility. Because now the question was no longer, can I reach $100,000? It was, what do I do with it? And suddenly, everyone had an opinion. A coworker insisted crypto cycles were about to explode again. His father swore real estate was the only path to security. It worked for my dad. A finance channel recommended index funds and automation. And deep inside his own mind, a softer voice whispered, "You've been strict for years. You've earned the right to relax a little." That last voice is the most dangerous one. Because what Ethan does in the first 90 days after crossing $100,000 will determine whether that number becomes $2 million, or quietly stalls for the next decade. My name is Find, and we're going to walk through this carefully, because this milestone changes the math in ways most people don't understand. Why $100,000 is different. The first $100,000 is brutal. Charlie Munger once remarked that reaching that first 6-figure milestone requires intensity. You cut aggressively. You sacrifice. You hustle. You grind. Most people focus on that part, the difficulty. But the important insight is what comes after. Once you reach $100,000, something structural changes. At an 8% average annual return, $100,000 produces $8,000 per year. That's $667 per month. Without extra effort. Without overtime. Without a side hustle. Without skipping lunch. For the first time, the money itself has momentum. It works while Ethan sleeps. Now imagine he continues saving $1,000 per month while earning that same 8%. His first $100,000 took roughly 6.4 years. The second takes around 4.2 years. The third takes roughly 3.2 years. By the fifth $100,000 increment, each milestone arrives in about 2 years. Not because he became smarter. Not because he found a secret stock. Not because he doubled his income. Because compounding finally has enough fuel. This is where most people misunderstand wealth building. It does not improve linearly. It accelerates. And acceleration only continues if you avoid the 3 mistakes that quietly destroy momentum. Mistake 1, the illusion of safety. Ethan worked hard for this money. The idea of watching it drop 20% in a market downturn makes him physically uncomfortable. So he considers putting the entire $100,000 in a traditional savings account. It feels responsible. It feels stable. It feels mature. But if inflation averages around 3% per year and his savings account earns 0.5%, the math is unforgiving. Every year, the purchasing power erodes. Quietly. invisibly, without drama. Over 10 years, that safe $100,000 might still say $100,000 on the screen, but its real value is significantly lower. Meanwhile, historically, a diversified S&P 500 index investment over long periods has often multiplied that capital substantially. Safety without growth is not protection. It is slow decay. Mistake 2, the performance chase. Now that Ethan has capital, he pays more attention to financial headlines. AI stocks. Crypto rebounds. Next big thing opportunities. Hot real estate markets. He opens a brokerage app. He researches individual stocks at midnight. He believes that if he studies hard enough, he can identify something undervalued. But decades of investor behavior data tell a different story. Average investors routinely underperform the broader market, not because they choose fraudulent companies, but because they buy after prices rise, sell after prices fall, react emotionally, attempt to time entries and exits. Even professional managers with research teams struggle to consistently outperform broad market indices over 10 to 15-year periods. Trying to beat the market is statistically difficult. Owning the market is historically reliable. The boring approach wins far more often than the exciting one. Mistake 3, the subtle lifestyle drift. This one doesn't look like a mistake. Ethan upgrades his apartment slightly. He eats out more often. He stops tracking expenses with the same precision. Nothing extreme. Just small adjustments. Psychologists describe something called the arrival fallacy. It's the belief that achieving a milestone will produce lasting satisfaction. In reality, the emotional high fades. But the increased expenses remain. Then Parkinson's law kicks in, expenses expand to match available resources. 5 years later, Ethan may look at his accounts and see modest growth, not catastrophic loss, but far less than what compounding could have delivered. He didn't sabotage himself. He simply lost intensity too early. Now let's build the right framework. This is where discipline shifts from grinding to structuring. Step 1. Secure the foundation. Before aggressively investing, Ethan should maintain 3 to 6 months of living expenses in a high-yield savings account. Not to earn massive returns, but to prevent forced selling during emergencies. Liquidity is psychological stability. And psychological stability protects long-term strategy. Step 2. Capture employer match. If his employer offers a 401k match, that is effectively free money. A 50% match equals a guaranteed 50% return on contributions. A 100% match equals doubling money instantly. There are no index funds, no crypto trades, no real estate flips that guarantee that. Skipping an employer match is leaving earned compensation behind. Step 3. Eliminate high-interest debt. Any debt charging 7% to 20% interest is mathematically difficult to justify carrying. Paying off a 20% credit card balance is equivalent to earning a guaranteed 20% return. That's nearly impossible to match consistently in markets. Lower interest debt, such as a 4% mortgage, may make sense to carry while investing, depending on risk tolerance. Emotion should not guide this decision. Math should. Step 4. Maximize tax-advantaged accounts. A Roth IRA allows contributions to grow tax-free and be withdrawn tax-free in retirement. An HSA, if eligible, provides triple tax benefits. Deductible contributions. Tax-free growth. Tax-free withdrawals for qualified medical expenses. Used strategically, it becomes a powerful retirement supplement. These accounts are not loopholes. They are legally structured advantages. Step 5. Build a simple, diversified portfolio. 3 core funds are often sufficient. Total U.S. Market Index, Total International Index, Broad Bond Index. This structure provides exposure to thousands of companies worldwide at minimal cost. Expense ratios matter. Over decades, high fees quietly erode wealth. Low-cost indexing compounds efficiently. Complexity does not equal superiority. The bigger shift, identity. 6 years ago, Ethan's effort determined his progress. Every dollar required discipline. Now, the equation has changed. At $100,000 earning 8%, the portfolio generates $8,000 annually. At $500,000, it generates $40,000 annually. At $1 million, roughly $80,000 annually. At that level, his investments could potentially match or exceed his salary. But here is the truth. The people who turn $100,000 into $1 million are rarely the most brilliant. They are the most consistent. They automate contributions. They increase investment rates with raises. They avoid emotional trades. They do not chase headlines. They do not celebrate prematurely. They treat $100,000 as ignition, not completion. When Munger said you can ease off after $100,000, he did not mean stop caring. He meant the uphill push becomes less steep. The sacrifice phase transitions into the management phase. Grinding becomes structuring. Manual effort becomes mathematical acceleration. That moment in the parking lot was not a finish line. It was the moment Ethan's money began working harder than he does. And the only thing that can interrupt that force now is him.